Welcome to the Luminary Lounge podcast, where we uncover the insights from lives well lived. I'm your host, Dr. Aruna Muralidhar, and today we have a guest who is quite simply a force of nature. She's a master curator of ideas, a champion of storytellers, and a bridge builder between worlds. Our guest today is Lakshmi Pratury. She's a visionary founder and CEO of Inc., a platform that has elevated hundreds of innovators from scientists and artists to entrepreneurs and activists onto global stages. You might know her as a co host of the historic TEDIndia in 2009, or as a driving force behind the Inc. Conference, Inc. Asia, and Inc. Fellows program, which nurtures emerging change makers. But before all that, Lakshmi spent over a decade at Intel, navigating the world of venture capital at Global Catalyst Partners, and led social impact at the American India Foundation, where she founded the digital Equalizer program. She's been recognized by Forbes as a woman to watch in Asia and honored as an inspirational icon. Today, we're going to go beyond accolades. We're going to dive deep into the art of finding a story, the courage it takes to build a movement, and the wisdom gained from a life dedicated to giving others a voice. Lakshmi, it is indeed an absolute honor to have you on our podcast. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. It's quite something to be interviewed by a doctor who does this as your second career. So it's wonderful to meet you as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We've been researching you, and you've actually described yourself as a collector and connector of people, which is such a beautiful phrase. Now, when you did realize that that was your calling, when was it, and was there a moment in your life that you felt that there was more to human connection? There's more to just the idea of storytelling. When did this all come to your purview? Let's say.
There are some people in life who know what their purpose is. Like I have friends who are physicists or whatever, and they know what they're good at. And there are some of us who have no idea what we are interested in. And so for me, I wanted to be many things. I could never decide on any one thing. I wanted to be, when I was about 8 years old, I wanted to be the first woman in space. Then I remember reading about, I was quite young, reading about, I think, Valentina Tereshkova doing that. And I was so upset that day. I felt that she took away something from me that I should have done. So, I wanted to be an oceanographer. I wanted to be an explorer. I wanted to be all kinds of things. I really had no idea what I wanted to be. So life happens, you study. And I decided when it came to a career is that I don't know what I want to be, but whatever comes my way, I'll do a great job with it. And I will only take something that interests me at that time. I don't know how long it would interest me, but it has to be interesting for me. There are a lot of stories, ups and downs, etc. But anyway, I ended up in technology quite unexpectedly, only because I was in US, I needed a green card. And so someone said, I know someone, and I kind of ended up in technology, like totally chanced upon it. Worked there just because I loved where I was. I just kept working. I really wanted to do something between India and US, but I didn't know what it was. So as long as you're doing something, especially something you're really enjoying, you never ask yourself, what do I really love about my job? So I just stopped and I took a year off and I started looking at what are all the jobs I did and what aspect of it that I really liked. Why did I choose those jobs? Every time at Intel, when I was doing a new technology and it becomes really successful and they say, hey, now you can potentially lead this group, I would always leave it. Now it's like it's products and sales and all that stuff. I don't want to do it. I really love doing things when no one believes in it. And then you get a small group of really amazing people together and you work with them and then you introduce the technology. So when I looked back, I said, my God, I worked with people in the gaming industry, with people in entertainment industry, people in, of course, the chip industry, and people in process technology. And I always loved keeping in touch with them. And I met writers, artists, architects, actors, all kinds of people through the job. So when I stopped and looked back, I realized what I really enjoyed was meeting all these people and learning through them. So I just said, I love collecting people. I love interacting with different people. And I always found when I made the unusual connections, like when we were at Intel, we brought a fashion designer from Italy and a technologist and a bank and put them all together to show how internet can be used in fashion. We do all these kinds of things. So I said, the beauty of the world is in connecting people. Even computers, they really became powerful when they were networked.
Yes.
That's when the power came. That's why there's internet. That's why there's AI. That's why all these things are there, because computers stopped being alone and connected to each other. So in the same way, I feel human potential or human impact is achieved only when unusual people connect. And by the privilege of what I was doing, I got to meet people in very, very different disciplines. And wouldn't that be great if I could use it to connect them? And the collector came out of, like some people love collecting saris, some collect art, and I love collecting all those things also. I love collecting saris and art, but I thought I love collecting people. And there's no purpose for me when I make a friendship, when I meet somebody, when I talk to a random person on a flight. I have no purpose to that, except I want them in my collection. I want to know who they are, and I just want to know them. That's the beginning and end of it for me.
Right.
But over time, the connections emerge, but that's not the purpose. So when people say, what do you want to be? I'm like, CEO, founder, all these things seem transitory titles, but the fact that I love collecting and connecting people is like my lifelong job. So I said, that's what I call myself.
Wow, that's so lovely. I mean, you are a person who is, I would say, extrovert, would like to be there at the germinator level, and then maintain those relationships,
Yeah.
continue the networking, and bring unusually different sort of fields together.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And when you started Ink, I mean, let's say you meet a random person at a party and want to tell them about Ink. How would you explain Ink, the conference that you've built, not sounding too much like a conference organizer or something like that? How would you explain that to a random person?
I wish I could crack that. For all the storytelling we do, I find it very hard to explain what we do in one sentence. Because it takes a little bit of an explanation, because I always say that innovation happens when people from different disciplines meet. And we need to continuously have a space where amazing people meet. And our job is to make sure the right people come together and meet, hear the right ideas, and be inspired to give the right amount of support at the right time to the right person. So our job is to enable that. So the best example I can give to people is that I was watching something, and this guy says that I play the most important role in this film. And that we said, really? Like, what's the job you have? He says, I'm the chauffeur. And I get down from the car, I open the door, and the hero steps out of the car, and that's how the movie starts. So if I didn't drive him there and open the door for him, he wouldn't have been able to come out and start the film. So I feel that I'm like a chief chauffeur, that's the way I look at it, is that we open doors, we let people out, we made them connect. A lot of times people don't even notice us. People don't even think of us as an important role, players in the way things happen. But it is true. If he didn't open the door, hero couldn't have come out. And that's how I feel about us, is that maybe if I have to, in a fun way, describe myself, I'm a chief chauffeur. And in a little bit more serious way, I would say that it's a platform for innovation. So, and for innovation to happen, people from very, very different disciplines should meet without a transactional outcome. You have to have that space. So the only two words over the years I've come up with is, I call it a brain spa. Just as, if you're tired, even you need to keep your body in shape by going to a masseuse or a, whatever, pedicure, manicure or whatever. So you come to we created a brain spa. So if you need to massage your brain a different way, and you need to think of the world a different way, you need to think of what are the social impacts. So if you need to massage your brain to think of different aspects, you come to ink. So that's the best way I found to describe ink as a brain spa and describe myself as a chief chauffeur.
That sounds absolutely amazing. And you put it really well. You're actually creating opportunities for those who come and giving them the space to, brainstorm together. Brain Spa is amazing indeed.
Yeah.
And you've worked with so many brilliant people, right? Scientists, entrepreneurs, activists who are amazing at what they do, but they struggle to talk about themselves without sounding like as if they're pitching their ideas. They have to come out with their ideas and mingle and feel free about, let's say, opening up. So how do you enable that, and how do you catalyze those interactions?
Yeah.
Is that easy to do?
All these things are neither easy nor hard. They're time consuming. Anything you want to do that's good out there takes time. There is no shortcuts to life. You may have an occasional surprise or luck or whatever, but most of the time I truly believe that luck follows hard work. So any story that comes out is a result of spending time on it. So I always like to listen to people, what they think they do, because we also, all of us live a certain facade. This is my job, this is my profession, this is what I am. And so when we talk about ourselves, when someone says, what would you like to talk about, the thing that comes out first is what we do.
Yes.
But when you go a little deeper into it, the person comes out, and it is what you do, but why do you do what you do? Yes. And where does this come from? So when you keep listening to it, something clicks in that conversation. And I'm always looking for that to say, when they talk about something, their eyes light up. Their voice is a little bit more excited, etc. And then you say, okay, there's something here, this aspect of their life. So there are three things I tell everyone when we are listening to a story. Is that one is, you cannot tell your entire life or your entire idea in one talk. Decide what is the one idea you want to focus on, and just that is the talk. So what is the one aspect that you have? And secondly, what is the one thing you feel most authentic about? There are things you acquire as knowledge, and things you live as your truths. So authenticity always works. And the third most important thing is, who are you talking to? So if you're talking to a 5-year-old versus 50-year-olds versus 90-year-olds, your story could be the same, but the way you say it has to change. So you really have to remember these things of what is the most authentic you. And don't try to impress people, just try to connect with them.
Oh, yes. So you, as you rightly said, it takes a lot of time to understand the deeper levels of a person, right? And that must require a lot of researching and probably a one-to-one, etc.
Yes.
So your Ink conferences probably have a lot of background work to be done
Oh, yes.
before you choose your speakers and give them the stage, I
See,
suppose.
there are two things. One is you choose the speakers that you already know can talk about a certain thing. And sometimes you choose a person because you think they're great and then find the story in them. You know, both the things happen. Like when we pick our fellows, we are really looking for those who are pushing the boundaries a little bit, and they've done great stuff, but they haven't really gone to the fame yet. And what they're doing is a little different that everybody around them is saying, why are you doing this? And so when you take people like that, then don't come out naturally articulate, etc. But I think articulation is a result of speaking your heart out. When you know, if you're talking about your favorite dish or the favorite movie that you saw, whatever, you're not short of words. But when you say, oh, I have to give a talk in front of 500 people, you get nervous. But if you say, forget all that and say, can you speak from the heart what you're talking about, then you become articulate. So it's a question of, yes, there is a lot of spending time. We tell the speakers that unless you have 2-3 sessions to be able to talk to us, let's not do it, because you need to spend that kind of time. Sometimes if it's if somebody we already know has done a lot of work, etc., you just have one conversation, it's okay. But you always have to have some conversation before you get out there.
Can imagine, right? And how do you help someone navigate their vulnerability? I mean, obviously, a good story is something which comes from a depth of, emotional or some sort of a, let's say, historical event or something which has modified or shaped them. How do you navigate vulnerability? How do you make them speak the story that has really influenced them in their life? That must require a lot of knack and talent.
I mean, as I said, it's the work we do up front, but it's also a safe space you need to create. So when we do our conference, we make sure the stage is really beautiful, the space is really beautifully done, and we are very strict. We tell people, do not walk in and out when somebody is speaking. And so when the MC is speaking or when we're making the introductions or whatever, you're free to go in and out. But when the person is speaking, respect them. So I think if you create an environment where they feel they are respected, and it's a very sacred space, the stage is a very sacred space. And if you make sure your team imbibes that, the audience imbibe that, then it creates that safe space. And they know when the speakers come there, they know that the audience is there to receive them, not to critique them. They're not there sitting there saying, show me who you are. They're saying, wow, if they chose you to put you up there, you must have something. So we are here to listen. So I mean, we don't put somebody up there just because they're rich. We don't put somebody up there just because they're a sponsor. We put them because they have something to say.
Content.
And if they are a sponsor or whatever, we say that we cannot do this without our partners. And this is our partner. But nobody sells from the stage. Everybody has an idea. Every company has an idea. They stand for an idea. So we want them to talk about their idea, but not about the product. So when you put all these things in place, you create a naturally safe space for people to share their ideas, their vulnerabilities, their heartfelt ideas, etc. Because it's very scary. You put this out there, and if the audience doesn't like it, it's kind of you're revealing yourself, and they're like, oh, that guy is such a sissy, or whatever. But if you create the environment where it's safe to be whoever you are, then it's okay. So for us, when we do our conference, the audience is as important, in fact, more important than the speakers. So we are very choosy who the audience are. We don't go for just any audience, any number of people. we really want the audience to be as excited and open-minded people as possible. So I think if you create a great space, it comes out.
And there are lots of interaction, I suppose,
Yeah.
just after the talk and
Yeah.
post the conference.
And
as
also,
well.
it's not something typically when we do it, it's not where the speakers fly in, speak and fly out. And everybody stays for 3 days and everybody interacts with each other. And it's not like the speaker is the most important one. Everybody is important. The person sitting next to you is as successful as the person on stage. So it just so happens a subset of the audience is on stage, but everybody in the audience is as good as the speakers. So we create that environment so everybody feels we are equals.
Oh, it's beautiful. That's such a beautiful concept indeed.
Yeah.
Now let's go back to the year 2009 when in Mysore you co-hosted the TED India with Chris Anderson. Can you recreate that atmosphere for us? I mean, first of all, how did it all come about? What made you take that upon yourself to bring TED Talks to India? And what was that atmosphere like then? And what was your hardest decision or your hardest challenge during that time?
Yeah. I think most amazing things happen in this world when you don't think too much about them. You have no idea what's coming. You just have a crazy idea, and you have to be a little crazy to do these things and not think too much of the consequences. And to me, it was, from like say early 90s, I've been working on, at Intel on digital content, on why content is important, the internet, all these kinds of things way before they came out into the public domain. So, and I've seen TED since 1993. So we used to, it was only people who attended TED heard the talks. Then we would get CD-ROMs, and that's it. But then we tried, when Chris took it over, he tried to do television about it. He was always thinking of how do you take this brilliant talks and give to as many people as possible. So finally, when internet came home, in the early 2000s or so. I mean, remember this before YouTube and before any social media things in the early 2000s. I think I felt that, my God, this is going to become big, because one of the things that was missing to make internet successful was content. And we worked on it for 10 years, going to every game manufacturer, everybody, and asking them to port their software to the Intel architecture and also make sure it's available on the internet. And we would go to like Disney's and Universal's, everybody, and say, create Disney.com, create Universal.com, because these are all really big and things like that. So being an evangelist from that time, seeing it, I knew that the right content had to come. And when TED started posting their talks, now TED started in 1983. So they're sitting on so many amazing talks, so much content. They could release a talk every day and not be short of it for 10 years, So I knew this was going to become big. And so I went to Chris and I said, why don't we host TED in India? Because they've hosted it in Oxford by then. They've hosted it in Africa. So I said, we should do something in India. And that's sort of, I just went to him one day and said, oh, let's do it. And he was like, okay, let's do it. Let's see what we can. Neither of us, I think, had a business plan or, like evaluated pros and cons. And if I did all that, I just don't think I would have done it. So I said, let's just do it. And we came and I started talking to people here, and I realized nobody has heard of TED. Nobody knew what TED was. And then I was panicking, saying, I told Chris that we should do this and all that stuff. Nobody's giving money to do this. I need to raise sponsorships. I need to get people to come. So I was just panicking. And finally, I met Nandan Nilekani. And then he said, absolutely, you should bring TED to India. And he was the first person who signed a check for that. So, and then I asked them for the Infosys campus. They gave it to us and all that stuff. Then a lot of people came on board, and then it really became something big. So when you say, live it today, I think there was a lot of anxiety.
I'm
There
sure.
was a lot of fear. I mean, I'm always like, let's just do it and then I'll figure it out. I don't understand what it takes
So who
to
were the
do it.
speakers, may I ask, during that time?
So
They were Indian.
yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of Indians. So we had, for example, Sunita Krishnan, who rescues women out of prostitution and created Prajvala. And her story is really why, to me, something like TED was important, that made me move to India. What happened with her story, which I'll share in a second. And there was somebody like a Devdas Patnaik, and then Shashi Tharoor, and so many people.
How many speakers did you have during that time?
It was like about 5 days of, we had like almost maybe 50, 60 plus speakers.
Okay.
Plus we had something called TEDU, which before the conference started, it's like a TED University where people come and speak. So we had a bunch of speakers there. So we had, I'm sure we had like over almost close to 100 speakers between all the things that
and
we
you pulled
did.
it off, like,
And and working with each of them on their talks, and it was just Pranav Mistry was there, and I mean, like, there were so many people who became iconic after the conference. Pranav Mistry like bursts onto the world stage because of that, and after that talk, his Sixth Sense became one of the first viral talks on TED. I think it's like 1 million views in a week or something like that. And then he was hired to lead research, and I mean, in the sense, the kind of success it had of not just talks, but what happened with the talks.
I know. I mean, it
was
must be
amazing.
such a satisfying feeling for you, having pulled it off, and not only that, and they had so many ripples, after effects after that.
Yeah, and TED has been such a close family for me from the time I've started going. So it was almost like you bring your family to meet your family. I really wanted TED to come to India, and it's the spirit of TED to come to India. So it was so generous of Chris to trust me to do that, because I had no experience doing conferences.
I'm sure a lot of the learnings from that have stood by you over time, right?
I mean, that's what made me start Inc. Is I had such a great experience.
That's exactly what I wanted to ask. And after TEDIndia, such a booming success, you could have stayed in that world. You could have continued curating within TED and other established platforms, but you chose to do something different. You chose to completely move out and start Inc. Probably there was some gap that you saw. I mean, what was a gap that you saw which you wanted to fill? Was it just wanting to create something that didn't exist in the current situation scenario in India? What led you to do that?
See, when we did TEDIndia, right after that, TED started TEDx. So I knew that there would be many TEDx's here. I could have hosted one of the TEDx's. And actually, I had license to many TEDx's, and then gave it to different people, etc. The reason I started Inc. was that I felt in India we had to do something different. It's not just finding great ideas. You need to find the ideas. You need to spend time with them, and you need to connect them to the right people. You have to create a whole ecosystem. And when there is a very established platform, I mean, think about a publicly traded company like that, right? TED already is a big brand, and it has certain guidelines of things to do and not to do. So you have to adhere to those, because it's a very, very valuable brand. And when you want to experiment with things and you say, I'm not sure if this will work or that'll work, it's better to do it outside of that brand. I'm always part of that family. I always have that. I go to TED every year, and I'm very good friends with every one of them. And I love it if anybody I know speaks at TED. So it's not that I couldn't work with TED. I continue to work with TED. But I felt I wanted to move to India. I wanted to start something where I had total independence on experimenting on a few things. And there's also, I must say, a little bit of arrogance, in terms of, I'll move to India and I'll start a conference. It'll be huge, this, that. And you come to India and you realize how tough it is to do things here. But more than anything, I think I just wanted the freedom to experiment because I didn't know what India needed. And I knew that India needed something like this.
Yes.
But I just didn't know what. So I felt I needed to take my time to figure out what it was. And especially like if you look at, for example, our fellows program, it's like front and center of what we do. And the fellows speak on the main stage. There's no separate stage for fellows and stuff. Because the young people and encouraging young people is a very big aspect of India. And so I just knew instinctively that you have to do things very differently here, but I just didn't know what. So I thought it's best to gamble on a new brand than an established brand.
So on those initial, early days of Ink, how did you build your team? What were your design choices? Were there any non-negotiables for you? Must have been very challenging, right? I mean, the TED had a certain sort of, let's say,
Standard.
ethos or standard and protocols, but this was something completely new. Could you just tell us as to how you conceptualized the whole thing and what were your design choices?
I never think too much before starting. And I came here and the first person that came on board was Nandini, who used to work with me at Intel. So I knew she had a certain rigor and I had that level of comfort. And I had a very young person called Ram Sahasranam who was with me from TEDIndia days. So I had like a very youthful, vibrant, energetic person. And I had someone who was I could really trust and knew how to get things done in India because I didn't know how to get things done here. So I've instinctively picked people I liked or complimented me, and we just started, and slowly we put the team together. And what I found is from a production point of view, like when we do the conference, it's like it has to start on time, end on time, and we have imagine one talk is 6 minutes, another talk is 18 minutes, one is 20 minutes, and it has to be like precise and what comes before, after. So from a production point of view, it's extremely rigorous. So in 2010, when I came here, I found the producers we found here, the event companies we had here just didn't deliver at that level. So for the first few years, our producers came from UK, people we knew who are very, very professional, who costed us a lot. But I was like, that's the one thing we can't compromise. So people would keep, saying at the end of our conference, like, how do you pull this off? And so it's because we had a very eclectic team, excellent people. And so these producers trained the production company people here, and we work with the same group of people. And before every conference, I would get all the camera people, everybody together, and tell them that the work you do is the most important thing. After the conference is over, when this is going to be seen by a lot of people, it's extremely important.
The post-production,
how you present it. And so we had like same editor, we had in-house editors and stuff. We never gave it out. So it was a certain language we had to develop for ink. How does an ink video look like, and what is it about, how is it captured? So it's even when we didn't have enough money, we had 5 cameras set up, and it has to be done a certain way. So it was that being stickler for that kind of rigor, quality, and having people who implemented it. I mean, I am not an operations person. I couldn't implement it with this rigor. I can just say what I want, but I can't sit there and make sure the rehearsals are done and it's done in this particular segment. So we had to put a team together that could do that, in everybody from a show caller to the producer, but the same people every year, no matter which country they were in, they all came and worked on it. So it was a very
and your
deliberate
venues remained and then your venue
No, that was another crazy thing we did. Every year the venue was different, because we wanted everybody coming from all over the world to see different parts of India. So we went from Lavasa to, Bombay to Pune to Jaipur to, I mean, we took crazy chances in Jaipur. The general manager of the Marriott approached me and he said, we really want the Inc. conference to be the opening act for the hotel. So we went and saw the hotel. The hotel was under construction and we already put the conference dates out. And we took a chance that it will be done. And we used to get palpitations even 1 month before it wasn't done, So I'm like, my God, did we make a mistake? But that general manager was so amazing. He delivered it. The conference happened. It was the first conference that happened at the Marriott in Jaipur. So we took some crazy chances like that, but then people came and delivered it for us also because they knew we trusted them. So I think it's finding the right team.
Putting the team together, not compromising on the quality and making sure that the training is, impeccable. Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
so that was the thing. I mean, while we spent a lot, I mean, people don't spend as much as we did for conferences, but I always feel you get what you pay for. And still I feel we are not spending enough to get a quality product here. And it's a struggle here to do things of quality.
And then raising sponsorship is also a challenge, isn't it?
It is.
You have to convince people to be able to support you through.
And also we respond to scale. If I said 100,000 people come to this, people would give the money. But if I say it's only 500 people, we don't understand ripple effect. When the 500 people meet each other, the impact that can be there is huge. But it's very hard to get a company to say, okay, give us money. Only 500 people will see my logo, it's it takes time, but luckily for us, I think over the years, we found really believers who say, let's do this. And so it's that group of people that kept us going.
True. And you must have seen a shift in the, I wouldn't say entrepreneurial field, but the field where people support each other in that sponsorship area, and let's say putting these conferences together, the networking and innovation which goes with it. Did you see a shift happening in the last, you started in 2010. So we're like 15 years down the line. How do you think it has evolved over the years? Is it more open now?
I think there are some things that have changed dramatically. There are some things that have not changed at all. And the things that have changed is obviously compared to 2010, there's a lot more wealth here. There's a lot more interest in spending on experiences. And people are more aware of their branding and they want to be out there, etc., which is fantastic. This is what we've been talking about all along, is that you should get out there, you should put yourself out there in a beautiful way. Everything from the way people dress to talk to sit to stand has emerged amazingly well here. So that's the thing that has changed a lot, which gives me a lot of hope. I mean, there's so many younger people that I work with, and I'm so amazed by how poised they are, how smart they are, how global they are. I certainly wasn't that when I lived here, So there is a lot of that because there's exposure. People travel everywhere. Even if you don't travel, you have access to information. So on one hand, we like experiences more. People are spending a lot more on experiences. I still feel what hasn't changed is the amount of money spent in India for quality products. There is a lot of conferences happening. There's a lot of things happening. But there isn't anything still like a TED or a Davos here. And for everything, we go to every country. I mean, that's the thing I still feel is that India should be home to something that everybody in the world puts it on their calendar and comes here. So when World Economic Forum started in Davos, it was because Europe wanted to remain relevant. And that's why they created the conference. So every prime minister, every CEO makes sure they go there. And we should have something like that in India.
True.
So we have it, like for example, in diplomacy, I think there are some things evolving that could happen, etc. But there isn't anything like a World Economic Forum or a TED that happens in India at that scale that's influential. It creates a community that spreads all over the world, etc. And that requires a huge commitment of money, not just to do a great 3-day conference, but to create an institution that spreads its wings everywhere. So if you look at China, if you look at even America, Germany, they put their institutions everywhere and make sure their ideas, culture, economy spread through institutions. Whereas in India, we haven't done that as much. It's happening. We have to keep remembering India's economic independence came in 1991. So we are a very young country. For that, we have done fantastically well. But I truly hope that there's a lot of things that come in that will create those kinds of institutions here where we are seen as a global player and everybody from across the globe comes here. It's happening more and more, but I'd like to see even more.
Sure. No, I mean, that's a beautiful idea. So let's say you were given an appointment with Modi ji. And you want to really put India on the stage, on the global stage, for people to be attracted to the conferences. And that we have a very, a rich tradition culturally, as well as all the other alternate medicine and alternate sciences. If you were to have an interview or rather an appointment with Modi ji for about 10 minutes, what would you conceptualize and how would you convince him?
Yeah.
Love to know that.
To me, this is actually not the job of the government.
Right.
This is the job of the private enterprise. Because, government, we shouldn't look to government to solve our problems. I mean, what the government is doing in India, I'm blown away by just the whole digital infrastructure we have created and so many things that have been done here. It's not I'm not talking about any one political party or any one, leader. But if you think about it, for the last 25 years, technology has really changed India. And it happened because of the private enterprise and a fantastic public-private partnership. I think that is more important. I think the interview is not with any political leader, but it should be with somebody who's privately very wealthy but doesn't want their name or their company to influence the editorial. I think that's what's needed. So if you look at, again, we talked about TED. If you look at TED, Richard Saul Wurman, who's an amazing architect, started TED. And he charged a lot of money. People paid the money. He took it and produced a fantastic conference. Then Chris, who already made a lot of money in publishing, came and took over TED. And he truly spread it out to a lot of people. And every wealthy person, every venture capitalist, etc., gives a lot of money to TED. So great institutions happen when a lot of wealthy people give to a common cause and not for their own individual journeys. That's when great institutions happen. So I want my interview to be with the top 10 rich people and say, just each of you give $1 million. And so $10 million a year for the next 10 years. And I'll create, I'll put a team of people together that would create something fantastic. So I think I truly believe that everybody should take charge instead of waiting for the government to do something for us.
So very, very well put. I agree. Public-private partnerships are a big way forward.
I mean, in the sense, like for example, we are doing something right now with our foundation and Kritika Reddy, who's the founder of Verix, and the government. It's called AI Kiran, and we were thinking about what is the disparity in technology. First of all, there's a gender disparity in general out there, and the research says something like it's going to be another 130 years before there's a gender parity in pay in general. So in our lifetime, we are not going to see that. And technology only creates the division even more. Like in the industrial era, 20% of the people, control 80% of the world. And today, probably 3% of the people control, 97% of the world. So, especially with each technology, the disparity is becoming more and more. And with artificial intelligence, this whole thing coming up, this is a revolution like nothing we have seen before. And it's important to work at it to create an inclusivity from the beginning, because while we've been working on AI forever, the whole generative AI, the ability that its access, etc., is happening only now. So if we all hurry and do a lot of things to bring multiple perspectives, cultural perspectives, languages, gender parity, everything to the data that's based on which AI is making decisions, a lot of things could happen. So we came up with this thing called AI Kiran. It was actually led by Verix, which does blockchain-based products. And right now they're doing amazing stuff in how you can use AI to become better companies. Like their product can help you discover your own AI abilities better. Right. But the point is, a private company and our foundation, we came together and we said, how do we recognize 1 million women in AI? You recognize them, you train them, you educate them, you grow them, you scale them. And we just came together and we working with PSA of the government. And we've been able to pull together such an amazing collection of people. So where everybody feels the ownership of it, it doesn't belong to women or to organizations or anything. Everybody is coming together with that. And the goal is, how do you even make an attempt to have an inclusive AI? So that's the thing we are working on. So I think if the private enterprise and our community organizations and the public come together, and we have to do things very quickly at an exponential pace, we have some hope of catching up, not in 130 years, but probably in 10, 20 years.
So you'll
we
advance,
still have a race. We still have a race. And I'm not sure if it'll happen in my lifetime. But it is a race we have to take on.
So and it's very time sensitive, as you rightly said. Gender parity can be advanced with the AI coming through, but as you said, time sensitive. And we're having some very heavyweight sort of creating a lot of bias. For example, even in the medical field, we have literature from the US and China, which is completely, toppling the balance. So I think we need more of India to be out there in terms of medical literature, culture, our rich tradition, whatever it may be. I think you're doing an amazing job at that.
I mean, I just want to say that it's not just India. I think it's that, there have been cases where the AI recommends something based on a very skewed data, because the data that is there could be a certain population living in California or something like that. And then the decision is not the right one for an African American or a Asian, etc. There have been cases where it's been medically dangerous also. So I think every field, it doesn't matter, be it fashion or medicine or education, needs to focus a lot on how to make AI more inclusive. Because it's sort of, unless it is that we won't get the right results, especially in something like medicine, it's literally life and death. So I think a lot of work needs to be done. We have to question, when a recommendation comes, what is it based on? So we have to all ask the right questions. The more a technology takes over, the more we have to ask the right questions.
And I was reading this very interesting book, which by Mo Goddard, who says, I mean, AI is a child and we are parents, and
Mhm.
we've got to, sort of do the right kind of parenting
Yes.
so that we have, a better future with
Right.
AI. And because there's no way out, we have to coexist and
Yeah.
give
Yeah.
it the right kind of nurturing.
Yes.
Amazing. Right. I just wanted to talk about something more human. I read something that really stayed with me. You've talked about a young girl you met through Sunita Krishnan's work, a girl who's been rescued from trafficking.
Mhm.
Now, and she was very excited about moving into a new home, but unfortunately died. And you've said that picture is forever stuck in your mind.
Mhm.
Um, can you share that story with us?
Mhm.
How did it
Yeah.
influence you?
I always say that doing the kind of work that we are doing is very tough at times. Like it's sort of, you work hard and you have to like knock on so many doors, and you just there are times I stop and say, why am I doing this? What purpose? It's financially not what it could have been for me. If I just stayed in America and worked even a part-time job, I would have been 10 times more successful. And people don't understand what you do a lot of times, and it is very, very frustrating. So there are the
You're a
times.
million times more successful now, says 10 minds. It's not,
Yeah,
it's a different
it's
kind of wealth you've created.
yeah, but it's like when you do work, it doesn't matter what the work is. There are times you hit a wall. uh, I always say that when I trained for a marathon, I was told right at the beginning that around mile 18 you'll hit a wall.
Yeah.
So be prepared from 18 to 26 to have someone run with you, or you need to do something to reinvigorate yourself. It has nothing to do with your physical stamina, it's just your mental thing. So it doesn't matter whatever you take on, the more difficult it is, the longer it takes, you always hit a wall, and you need something that will get you out of that. And you need some tools. You need to look at your own success in very different ways, as you're saying. So this story, when Sunita Krishnan gave the talk uh, at TED, I mean, there was not a dry eye in the audience, and people were very moved by the horrific nature of trafficking that's happening right among us. And she talked about how they rescue women who've been tied to a bed for years and raped 50, 60 times a day, and by the time they get them, they already have HIV and all these kinds of things, and they're emotionally don't trust anybody, they're broken. And so the talk, and she showed photos of really gruesome, like how they are. So it's we know all these things happen, but to experience it is very tough. And that was a choice we made, that that's how the story should be told, is people should know how horrific it is. Let's not make it just a social cause. And Sunita is oh my god, if there is a force of nature, that 4'9" is like a 10-foot tall woman. And she gave it, and it was strong, and people got up and said, I'll donate, I'll donate, I'll donate. And because she said, I wish we had a permanent home, because wherever we go, people throw us away. So I want my girls to have a permanent home. So basically, we raised enough money for her to buy a 10 acres of land outside Hyderabad and build a beautiful facility where they all live there. They grow their own food. They have an amphitheater. They have living spaces, everything. And that really shifted my perspective of, wow, a great talk in front of a great audience can have a great impact, and we should do more of it. And that's what really clinched it for me to move to India and start Ink. So then I started going and seeing, meeting the people there, etc. And there was this girl who I was very taken by, because she was sitting there and she had like this big flower in her head. And so when I was a kid, I didn't have long hair. I had short hair, so I used to put flower in my head like that. She had exactly that same haircut and this big flower in her head, and very strong face. So I just started talking to her. I went there for a New Year's Day celebration, and I started talking to her. And then later on, Sunita told me that this is a girl they rescued. I mean, when I met her, she was probably 8 or 10 or
Oh.
something like that. So they rescued her and brought her home, and then they put her in a home for mentally ill children, because she's a little mentally disabled.
Challenged.
So but what they found is that institution was also raping. I mean, people there were abusing her. So
Oh.
they brought her back to their
What a
home.
shame.
And so by then she already had very, HIV and all that stuff. But I was so taken by her, and I would always keep in touch with her. And I shot a picture of her over there where she was just looking at me and with this flower in her head. So I called her my flower girl. And I felt that the work we did, it resulted in building that home where she had a stable life for a few months maybe, or whatever. And then she died. But I felt whatever we have done has resulted in that for that one person. It's worth it, So I realized when you do work like we do, where it's very frustrating, it takes very long to get an idea to to take plan. You have to think of little victories and make that your your energizing engine. You have to say, okay, it's so frustrating to do all this and blah. Why can't they just write a check for $1 million and don't ask any questions? Like, I know what I'm doing. Whatever. When you go through these things, I just think of her and I say, okay, yes, maybe I didn't have the financial success I wanted, because we all get into this rut of, that person who started with me, look where they are and look where I am. We all get into this rut. And you just have to say, okay, that's all I did and nothing else comes out of it. It's worth it,
Absolutely.
And you just have to use that as your energizing engine and say, for this 8-year-old to have gone through what she has gone through and still have that smile, what do we have to complain about? All our problems are first world problems.
Absolutely.
And what she has gone through, I just cannot get over like what that young age, what she has gone through. At 25, I was like clueless about the world, like running around. And at 8, she has suffered so much and still had the courage to want to live. So I just feel you have to remember stuff like that and say that is that's what makes life worth living, is that you played a small part in that.
Yeah, and goosebumps. I mean, that must have really stayed with you. And it's all the little small joys that actually string together to give you that impetus to go on, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
I
can't
and
imagine.
It's also things like, when my son was growing up.
A tissue.
No, it's okay. When my son was growing up, he came to the ink conferences everywhere with us, and he would be in the production room and all that stuff. So when my son was growing up, he was 5.5 when we moved to India and started doing ink and all that stuff. So he used to come to the conference and, hang around in the production room, meet all the speakers. And, he grew up in the corridors of
That's such a
ink.
rich
So
rich
I
experience.
feel that, like, yes, I wasn't there all the time for him as I wish I was, or I missed him at times. But I feel that just like I went everywhere with my father and learned so much from him, I felt I could take him everywhere with me. And whatever he becomes in the future as an adult, he will always carry that
Yes.
with him.
Yes.
So we had so much fun. I mean, doing every conference is like doing a wedding every year, and all your friends are coming and amazing speakers.
Yeah.
And, people are so touched and they
True,
come to you
true.
and say, oh my God, this is great. And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
feels so good at the end of
Yeah.
it
Yeah. Yeah.
that I think it's totally
whole
worth it.
sense
Like
of
throughout the
joy.
year, you are like, why am I doing this? And then the conference is over and you're like, okay, where are we doing the next year? Completely forgetting how painful it was the rest of the year.
It's worth it when you have people coming and
Yes.
thronging around you and
Yeah.
congratulating you and to bring those stories to them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned about your father and his influence on you.
Uh-huh.
Can you talk a little more about how his parenting has influenced you along the way? He's been a
Yeah.
very strong force behind you. I know that. From
Yeah.
what you've
My
told.
father was a pediatrician and I mean, I think great psychologist. Only he could handle me, like nobody else in the house could handle me. And he's someone very like a renaissance man, he practiced medicine. He was the superintendent of the hospital, and he wrote dance dramas.
Oh.
He wrote books, and like he did so many things. Like he would write a book, and whoever the president of the country would inaugurate the book, or the chief minister would inaugurate
Wow.
the book. So my father was a freedom fighter. So he went to jail actually, and he would say he's the only one in my family that can claim he went to jail and it's okay. The rest of us could never say that ever. And so not jail, he went to prison.
Yeah.
And fought for freedom, always wore khadi, and through congressman. And so with him, I would go to book openings, I would go to, dance dramas that he wrote and somebody else would compose, and the rehearsals would be in our house. If there's any election, all the posters would be made in our house and all that stuff. And then, of course, in the evenings, I'd go with him while he was attending to patients and do my homework on the side there.
Yeah.
So I watched him, how he interacts with patients and all that. But none of it was orchestrated. It just happened. He just took me everywhere with him. There was no other plan, because he was a single parent. I mean, my grandparents lived with us, but he's somebody, he lost his wife very early in his life, chose never to get married again, and said that my profession and my kids, this is what I want. At that time, I felt, oh, of course, he was old when his wife died. He was only like early 40s when my mom passed away. When I was in my 30s or 40s, I was thinking, oh my God, like to lose a partner at that age and never to marry again it's actually a pretty big sacrifice. So later on, we would have these conversations, and I'd ask my father, why did you not ever get married? I wish you got married again. You would have had a companion and all that stuff. So he said, look, your my mom's parents moved in with us to help him. So he said, I had everything I needed. I had a mother, father figure at home, and I had my profession. I felt it was too risky to bring another person into it. What if it doesn't work?
Yeah.
And also, they may want to have children and things
Right,
like that, which I didn't want anymore. So it's not fair to bring somebody in and not give them what they wanted. So thinking about all these things, I felt I'm happy. And more importantly, if I died, would they have asked your mother to get married again? They wouldn't have. So why should there be different rules for men and women? So that's the reason I never got married. So these are the conversations we used to have as grown-ups after I was in my 30s and 40s and realized what he has done. So we would have these long conversations. But he's somebody who influenced me without trying to influence me. I mean, he just was who he was. He never tried to oh my God, I'm the single parent, so let me do this with her. Nothing of that sort. He had his life. He didn't change any of it. He just took me along with him. And I think that was beautiful.
Yeah.
That he didn't try to sacrifice for me nothing. He wanted to be part of all these things. He was part of all these things. In the morning, a yoga teacher came. He did his breathing exercises and all that stuff. And then he went to clinic, and then he wrote. Like every morning, 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., he wrote. So it's like all these things I observed where he did what he wanted to do. So I feel as parents, a lot of times we take a lot upon ourselves to somehow be these role models to these kids and tell them this, tell. I think if you just live your life that's true to you, I think the children learn from that. And you don't need to sacrifice everything to be there for them and stuff. Of course, you have to be there for them. You can't leave them totally either. But I think we sometimes overdo it as parents. I think if we just do what you feel like doing, I think kids will be all right.
Those are very nice insights for modern parents.
Yeah.
Just be yourself, let them imbibe what you do. And
Because
try
I think
to
if you're happy doing what you do,
yes,
I think the children will see
we'll
that.
learn from that.
If you are sacrificing something you really wanted to do and feeling that, they feel it also.
True.
So I think everybody should focus on what makes them happy, and the world will be a happy place.
True. I'm just going to take to another sort of facet of yours. You've lived in fascinating sort of intersections, let's say the Silicon Valley, the Indian innovation, social impact as well, venture capital. And these are worlds with very different rhythms. And when they sort of, let's have some friction, then some beautiful ideas obviously come out of it. And the places where they rub against each other in ways that actually create something new, right? So you've tried to integrate everything in your current sort of let's say endeavors, but is there anything that comes out of your American Indian foundation where you see such different worlds, and even people like who live in the US, Indians who have migrated? What are their sort of challenges nowadays with everything becoming so global? What do you see in terms of this new evolution which is happening?
The reason for me to move from technology field to I need to do something with India was my father would always say, what are you doing to bring the richest democracy and the largest democracy together? And for me, when I look at both the countries, they have their respective strengths and weaknesses. And there is such an amazing way we can combine the strengths. And we'll always have weaknesses, but at least overcome our weaknesses by learning from the others. For me, when I first went to America, I loved the entrepreneurial spirit. You feel you can do anything at any age. And here, like I always tell people, I hate the word auntie in India, because here it means that you get married, now you're like an old woman. Now auntie means like you're not the cool person anymore.
I hate it.
So I'm just like, I tell people, don't call me auntie. And like in Singapore, everybody, even a 10-year-old is called auntie. I mean, it's like instead of saying miss or ma'am, they say auntie. That's a different thing. Here, auntie has a certain connotation. It just means you stay back. And so here I felt that the minute you get married or the minute something happens, your life's over. Or if by the time you're 25, 30, you're like already adult, don't try anything new. But when I first went to US, I was 22, and anything I started, it was okay. Like I couldn't walk a mile here, except like you walk to school or whatever. There I started running when in my late 20s, and people ran with me. I ran a marathon from zero. So people encourage you, so you don't feel like I was the last person anywhere we went. I went mountain climbing, I would be the last person to reach the peak. I would run, I'd be one of the slowest people, but it was okay. So I love that spirit of anything goes, and you're never too old to try things. And at the same time, it's so individual that it's very lonely at a certain time. So when I see a really old woman doing her own shopping and going home, I feel so bad. So I think in India we have this this sort of family structure together, friends, and all these kinds of stuff. So this thing can become too much interfering, Whereas in America, it could become too much isolating. But if you put these things together, we have an amazingly beautiful answer is that, be individual and yet be together. So if you can bring these two things together, I think it'll be great, which is what I felt I have learned is I love staying with people when I travel. But at the same time, I respect their privacy and sort of give them their space. So I think if we can combine things like that, the entrepreneurial spirit and the community feeling we have here, I think they're a great combination. So I feel, I don't know other countries. These are the only two countries I know. So I feel there is a lot that we can do if we come together in the right way.
Yeah.
And if we combine our weaknesses, that's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably why you founded in the American India Foundation, you founded the Global Equalizer program, right?
Yeah.
You've got so many
Yeah.
young girls and boys, I suppose,
Boys, yeah.
to, I think, a part of your global, the gender parity program, I suppose. But could you tell us more about the Global Equalizer program and how it's benefiting so many students?
So the idea was that, it again came out of something totally different. I wanted to come to India in 2000, 2001 to start a venture capital investments here to make India like Israel, like original ideas, product companies coming from here, you market it everywhere, but the IP remains here, the development is here, etc. So I felt there'd be like a innovation happening in India. So I met Kamran Ilahian, who was a venture capitalist in the US, and we really hit it off. I actually met him because he was interviewing me for a position in one of his portfolio companies, but we got along so well that we said, hey, let's do this in India. So I was very excited about India, and he was excited about India. So we said in the fund that we raised, we'll put a small amount of money to invest in India. So we came to India, but in year 2000, no one wanted to do product companies because services were really taking off at that time. And that was the right thing at that time. But I was very heartbroken. I'm like, oh, nobody wants to do product companies. So I don't want to do venture capital if I can't do that. So Kamran said, oh, he had something called Schools Online, which is to put computers in really poor schools and connect it to the internet. And for me, when I came here, I thought, why do we not want to do product companies? Because there's a high chance of failure in product companies. And it's very difficult in India if you fail. And if you keep going back to where does all this start from? Why are we not innovative? Why don't we want to take chances? It's because our education system has trained us to be great implementers, but not original thinkers. Because original thinking comes from experimenting, from making and failing and making again. But here, the failure is very expensive. If you fail, you cannot get another chance.
There's no plan B.
So if you think about it, where does all this start? Is from the time we are kids, we don't have an education system where we just learn and we have access to information. We are asked to question. It's like the teacher comes, teaches you, right? If you ask too many questions, you are a pain in the class, So I felt we need to really create an environment where children have access to information and they can ask questions. But I didn't know what it was. So then Kamran said, look, if you don't want to do venture capital, I'm doing this thing called Schools Online. Why don't you do that in India? So I thought about it and I said, internet gives access to information. And the whole program in Schools Online it's not about teaching coding, it's about teaching someone access to world's knowledge so they can ask the right questions. And that really appealed to me. So I felt if we can do this in India, we'll have a whole generation of people who will question things. And innovation comes from questioning. From observation. It's nothing, great, thing that falls in your lap. It's not like, yes, while we talk about Newton sat under a tree, saw the apple fall. There was years of work before that clicked that moment. So I felt that's what we needed to do. So I took Schools Online to India and, we were successful because we talked about it in a conference. Somebody, Clarence Chandran, at that time the COO of Nortel Network, said, I'll give you guys $1 million.
Wow.
And we were like, what?
Wow.
And literally I ran to his office, went there, collected my $500,000 check and came, and we started the program. And the idea was not teaching coding, but teaching people to get online, which was met with a lot of resistance initially in schools, as to people would say, what if they can surf the web, go anywhere, how do we control it? We said, we can take care of all those things, but you need to allow kids to go. And the second thing, what happens when that happens is kids start asking questions that the teachers can't answer now.
Yes.
Because now they have access to so much more information. That means the teachers have to feel safe to have this. Most of the things fail because the children are not given access to the computers. So we did, not only did we put computers and open it, we had a very strong teachers training program where we had people in each city who would go sit with teachers, explain to them. Because think about teachers, once they graduate and start teaching, they get no continuous improvement courses or anything. So we started taking them out on retreats, teaching them things, etc. And they were like, nobody worked on us like this. So they became allies in the kids doing well, as opposed to the kid knows more than me, so now I don't want to get the kid to study. So it became really big. And then I said, if you want to make it permanent in India, you need to find an organization it can sit with that can outlast me. Otherwise, it'll be great as long as I did it, and then it'll go away. So that's when American India Foundation was formed. So I took this, and they already had a program called Digital Equalizer. So I said, we have schools online, let's merge it, let's call it Digital Equalizer program and launch it. And so we took all our schools and made it part of that. Then the whole community came and supported it. People like, Lata Krishnan was leading it, Kumar Malwali, so many people came and gave money to that. So whatever Kamran Lahian and I started became much bigger, and it became part of American India Foundation. It's one of the largest programs they have today, 25 years after we started. And that happened because we created the right team that outlasted us. I mean, now nobody there knows me, or nobody even knows that I started the program. But it's beautiful to see it grow.
Such a beautiful legacy that you have.
It's again being a chauffeur, right? Nobody knows your character. But if you can open the right doors and put the right people. And American India Foundation has become a huge organization now. And so this is one of their key programs. So there's nothing like it for success.
Sustainable, and you've made it so you've enabled it.
And also, I think, from then to now, I believe that digital equality is extremely important, because we feel good about giving food to poor children, clothing to poor children, toilets or whatever, but we hesitate to give them expensive things. It's sort of, first, let's take care of their basic needs. But I feel you need to do both, otherwise they'll always be left behind. So whatever our children want, a poor person wants the same thing for their children also. So you have to give very upscale things to them, and when we did it, we said no used computers, there'll be new computers, best internet connection. It should be just as a private home can afford. It has to be like that. So they have to start thinking of themselves as equals. They can't think of themselves as they're at your mercy. Only then the freedom of mind comes.
No, I can see that common theme running through of achieving parity in various ways. Right?
It's sort of, you have to, I always feel giving. Philanthropy is not doing a favor, but it is actually, it's a privilege. And it's, you have to go about it that way. You cannot expect the other person to be thankful to you forever, while they should be thankful. I think gratitude is something we all need to learn. And a lot of times I forget that too. There's so many people who help me. I forget to thank them. But it's something, it's a muscle we have to keep developing. But I think the digital parity is the most important thing. Whether you want gender parity, economic parity, any parity, unless the digital equality comes, everything else will pale in comparison. So it's important to bring the digital equality.
That's so well said. And I think you've been putting processes together wherever you're seeing the gaps. Doing an amazing job at that. On the same lines, now when you pick your Inc. fellows, what is it that you're looking for, and how do you identify talent? How do you nurture it?
Yeah.
For the current adolescents, the youth, what are you looking for, which can be molded along the way? Because again, it's a VUCA world. It's so volatile and uncertain and all that. So what is it that you're looking for in your Inc. fellows?
Yeah, actually, it's Inc. fellows, Inc. speakers, Inc. attendees. It's the same things we look for. I think the most important thing, number one, is curiosity. They should be really curious about the world. They're open to learning. They're and people, not but people. There are two people in this world. There are some people say, oh, that's a great idea, but, here are the 5 reasons why it would not work. Or people say, that's a great idea, and have you thought about these 5 problems? Let's go see how we can solve them. It's the same thing you're saying, but the way you say it matters. So we always look for people who are curious, who are and people, who are like explorers, so their attitude toward life is let's learn. Their attitude toward life is not, I know everything, so that being open-minded is very, very important, because today you're doing this business, tomorrow something else, day after something else. You may fail in what you're doing today. It's okay. But are you that obsessive about what you do? You're curious and not obsessive to the extent you don't listen to anybody else, but are you open to listening to people? And secondly, I think it's important they are doing something a little off the beaten path. So if there are 10 companies and you're doing the 11th one, no matter how successful you are, that's not what we are seeking. Are you doing something slightly different? So there is that piece of it. And the third thing in the choice is we want to have a geography balance, gender balance, discipline balance, economic strata balance, urban rural balance. So when you have 10 people or 20 people, are they interdisciplinary? Are they intergenerational, faith, there's so much of
inclusion as well, right?
Yeah.
And that's a very important part of your selection process.
Yeah. So it's like every year for us, it's so tough to pick this 20 people because they're like, oh my God, that person is so fantastic. But that's like the 4th tech company, so we can't do it. We need to bring a couple of artists. We need to bring.
I can imagine.
So it's that eclectic nature. And we miss some really good ones also, it's over the years. So,
true.
So it's sort of like somebody turning on a great movie, and it happens. So you don't know. The other day I was at a Rhodes Scholar event, which we were co-hosting. And one of the Rhodes Scholars came to me and said, oh, I know what you guys do because I applied for an Inc. fellowship and I was rejected. I said, so obviously we don't get everything right, But it's, you do your best. But I think we look for that. It's the intangibles that really make it. It's not the tangibles. The tangibles are a least common denominator. Of course, you should be doing something that's already successful a little bit, already has some following. And, there is a certain, basic economic stability that needs to be there and all that kinds of stuff. That's the ground level. But really what gets you over the top is how curious you are. And also, there's a sense of caring for the world. It's not just my journey. It's, it's truly about something larger than me. And so I always feel, just look for good people. Everything else will fall in place, And the test I have is, especially with speakers, is is this somebody I can have dinner with and have a great time and not be saying, oh God, when will this dinner be over? Like, do they have something to say where I feel I'm learning?
Long drive
something?
test.
Yes.
Somebody who...
Yeah. But I think it's like, can you
Yeah.
have a long conversation with them without getting bored?
Yeah, right. Yeah, very well put. I want to ask you, if you could dream of a curated dream panel of from any era, living, historical, and they are on stage, what would you conceptualize? A dream panel that it could
I
bring
first of
out
all,
so many stories.
no, first of all, I don't like panels
Oh,
in
you
general.
don't? Oh, you don't, is it?
I like individual talks or interviews. Um, panels, you have to. Panels are great if they're eclectic people talking about the same subject, and there has to be a certain spark, certain chemistry between them. And a lot of times we do panels because you need multiple perspectives. So you really, actually hosting panels is much tougher than curating a talk, because you have to make sure everybody gets a chance to speak, and at the same time nobody dominates and multiple perspectives come. It's much tougher. That's why I don't like doing panels. Not because they're bad, because there are a lot of work to do good panels. And
but you have dialogues, is it?
Yeah, I like interviewing people. So if you said, who would I like to interview, I'll have a better answer.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people. I mean, I always, when people say, who's not alive, who would you like to meet? I'd love to meet Rabindranath Tagore. He's like my idol, my love, I think it'd be so great to have a dinner date with him, and just listen to, like, if I could ask him anything, like, how did you grow up? What is this? Where did this come from? Read a poem to me, sing to me. Like, I just want to,
I can imagine.
It'd be so amazing. What and like, walk me through all your houses. Why did you make this house? And where did you sit when you wrote Gitanjali? Or explain this. I mean, like, I could like talk to him for like 10 days.
Do you enjoy Rabindra Sangeet?
Oh, well, I don't know enough about it. So I'm married to a Bengali, so I must say I like Rabindra Sangeet. But it's more, I love him as a person, of just that eclectic. You write a beautiful poetry, and you also create a great university, and you're also a freedom fighter. I mean, it's just so many things, like a Michelangelo, or
like a polymath,
a polymath, or somebody like a Marie Curie. I would love to meet her. Like, what a woman, and what dedication. And so it's more, I'm enamored by how great people are. I'd love to meet Michelle Obama and just interview her. So I'm like, who I want to interview list, which changes all the time. But I always think of Rabindranath Tagore. I said, maybe, some ways, I think if you're love somebody, maybe you should never meet him, because they'll always disappoint you. So maybe I'm glad he's dead. I never met him, so he'll never disappoint me. He always remains in my imagination as the greatest person. And one of my friends, his father used to teach in Chandaniketan, so he has letters from Tagore framed in his house. So whenever I go to his Jayabrato, his house in Calcutta, I always go stand at that wall and look at his handwriting. And I love handwriting. I love letters. So I always look at it and just imagine he's like writing to me. And these things are so important in life.
Such
to be romantic about something too. And romantic doesn't mean it's in love with that person in that particular way. In love with the idea, in love with the person, in love with, I fall in love every day. Every day I see something, I'm like, oh my God, this person is just so amazing, or this idea is so amazing. And so I think there's like a bunch of people I'd love to have conversations with, like how we are having a conversation. Tell me about this, tell me about that, but like go on a hike with them and chat with them. That to me, walk and talk are the most interesting forms of spending time with someone.
So that brings me to this interesting question. What is a 30-minute exercise that you could recommend, which will help someone become better storytellers?
Yeah. So first of all, I always say, I said it earlier also, is that there are no shortcuts. There is no 30-minute exercise that will make you a great speaker. Just does not exist. But there could be an exercise you do 30 minutes every day for a few months or years, and you could get better at it. I always found um, getting to the real message is important for storytelling. You can pick anything. One of the best talks I heard is somebody talking about how to tie shoelaces. So it's not the subject. It's the detail you're willing to put into it. When I did my MBA, I took theater as a minor, and so we had to write a lot of character building and all that stuff. And I realized how much texture goes into the character. So if you're playing a certain character, for that character to have said that, there's a whole history. So I am sitting here saying this here because of how my father raised me, and then I went to US, and everything that happened in my life influenced me to be what I am today. So if somebody is playing my character, wearing this sari, sitting like this and talking like this, they should know why I do that. And that's the detail that has happened, last few decades of my life. So, to give a great talk, you really have to fill it with texture. It's not just about, like in Telugu, they say Ramayan can be said in 3 words, katte kotte teche, like it's over. But it's an epic with all these characters and all these kinds of stuff. So a great story has texture, it has details, it has a little bit of drama, a little bit of suspense, and a little bit of aha moment, and little sad, little happy. So I think it's, first of all, you have to decide what you want to say and be very clear about that. If you have 10 messages, none of them will land. There's only one message you can give for each talk. That's it. Only one message. So what is that one? That one message is not my entire life story. Which aspect of it? What is the one message you have? And once that message is there, what kind of details can you put into it? So now this chair serves me 25 years later. Still, it's great. So when you come to my house, what you will see is history. What you'll see is art. What you'll see is a piece of me. Now, there's a whole texture as opposed to, I'll give the address and this is my house. So I think it doesn't matter what the subject is. It has to have texture. And the texture has to be real for you. If I just sit here and describe, when you enter, there is right angle, there is a painting. On the left-hand side, there is a couch. On the right hand, that's not interesting. So you really have to think of, this is the message I want to give to the people. What is that message? And the one thing I used to do at Intel when we first started advertising and all these things is people get enamored by technology. So they say, why should you buy this product? Because it has this many gates, this many bits and bytes and all that stuff. So what? But these things will actually make the chip run faster. So what? Because the chip is running faster, the computer cranks things much faster. So what? That means that whatever data that's important for you, it'll take you 1 hour as opposed to 10 hours. Now that's interesting. But why do I care to get it in 1 hour? If you're a doctor, if you're trying to give your patient a prognosis, it would have taken you 5 days to crank the data. But now you can, upload the image and you know what the problem is in 15 minutes. That's the benefit. So a real story is about, what do you want to say? In what way is it beneficial to the person listening to it, not to you? That takes hours to prepare. So a real story, a great story, is about what it leaves the audience with and what benefit it gives them. That's a great story.
True.
And that takes a long time.
It's a lot of layering and texturizing, and making it relatable.
And pulling from your experiences.
Yes.
It has to be true to you, because the way you talk about an incident is different for each person. So you can't just take that talk and make it your talk.
True.
It has to be true to you.
Yeah. So on the same lines, what is a book or a film or a performance that you often gift to others? Anything that you recommend to others?
The standard, there are two books I always give to people. One is Gitanjali by Tagore, and the other one is The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. These are like good gifts. I feel I always, I have like at any given point of time a dozen of those books, and I just give them out. And of course, there's books that you're reading now or something that's influencing you. Like, for example, I'm working with one of our Ink fellows, Anand Gandhi. He wrote something, he and Zain Memon wrote something called Maya. It's a sci-fi, and I don't read sci-fi, but I'm fascinated by what they're doing. They're creating a modern mythology for the modern world. So I read the book.
Is it a book?
It's a book now. And so it's 3 books, and then it's going to be a board game, it's a game, it's a film, it's all kinds of things. Wow. But first it came out as a book. So now I have those books I'm just giving out to everybody. And we're doing actually a program to give 1,000 of these books to young people so they can build the world themselves. So some of it is relevant to whatever is happening today. If usually I go to any book reading, if I like any author, I buy like 50 of those books and have them sign it. And I give out as gifts, because I feel most of us have most things. We don't need anything else. True. But a signed book is a great thing to give. So I have, and in my library, I always have about 30, 40 books that are signed by different authors. So depending on where I'm going, which wedding I'm going to, I give a signed book. Yeah, I'm glad you think of the same lines as us. Yeah. I mean, books are, like getting out of style, etc. But I told my son that the only legacy you're going to get from me is signed books. That's what I'm going to leave for you.
And what are you currently learning that lights you up?
I mean, in my life, I've seen such dramatic change with technology, such dramatic change, that I feel what we are going to see now is all of it put together and more. And what happened in the last 100 years is going to happen in the next 10 years or next 5 years. So the rate, I mean, like, I've worked with Gordon Moore. I understand Moore's law. I understand the exponential nature of how technology develops. We are living at a time when exponential is going to be exponential. So it's amazing. And at the same time, I think we are going to go back to discovering our basic human touch with each other like never before. Like when I was a kid, we just hung out with each other, created games, and spent time with each other. I spent a lot of time with my grandparents. If they walked slowly, I walked with them to the bazaar slowly. And life was slow. We spent time with each other. And so I think there is going to be such a disruption that a lot of the jobs, a lot of the running around that we're doing now will go away. A lot of us will be without jobs. A lot of us will be thinking of what is our purpose. And maybe we'll find a little bit more time to hang out with our kids, a little bit more time to hang out with our parents and friends. I mean, there are so many friends. I haven't had time to even say hello in the last 10 years. Maybe if I had the time, I'll do that. And what I hope truly is that it creates a little bit more equality than the previous technologies did. And it allows us all to spend time with others without worrying about having food on the table, whether it's universal basic income or whether it is, I don't know, redistribution of wealth, whatever it is, we have to figure it out. But I do feel that as the famous book starts, we live in the best of times, we live in the worst of times. This is like none other. And I feel this whole uh, artificial intelligence and the need for it to be inclusive it's truly a life or death things for us in the future. We can be completely dystopian with masses destroying mansions and all that stuff. It could happen, or it could be a much more egalitarian world. It's really up to us how we go about it. But I feel the chance of that happening in the next 10 years is so much more likely. Like, I really feel we are living in a time where we are not, it's what we're seeing is not even tip of the iceberg. For me, personal computers, network computers, internet were amazing revolutions, from 1 to 2 to 2 to 4. Now we are looking at 10 to the power of 100, so the exponentiality is that huge. So what I keep thinking about is, how do we preserve our human touch in this age and be able to embrace both? So how can we reduce our needs, reduce our things, etc., to make our world smaller that way, so we can be there in the larger universe? And also must say, the pandemic has really, like for most people, told us what is really important and how quickly what we have can disappear. And so for me, I mean, because of the pandemic, I truly became a digital nomad. I mean, I have no attachment to things anymore. And my husband and I, we joke that we have this beautiful house here in Bangalore. We have a beautiful house in the Bay Area. Our son goes to school in UC Santa Barbara. So we rented this tiny 2-bedroom apartment in Santa Barbara. And we are so happy being there, So I do the only fight we have is
little happy place.
The only fight we have is when we have calls. It's like, I need the room versus I need the room kind of a thing. Nobody can talk when I'm having my call, sort of, first world problems. But it's like, we are so happy. We just literally have one suitcase full of clothes, both of us, and that's it. And we are so happy there. And so it's like, I think what keeps me up, what gives me hope, is that I hope we all learn to own less and share more. You don't even need to give, just share. I stayed in so many friends' homes because they weren't there, or they were generous with their homes. I mean, in this house, none of us are there. My friends come stay here all the time, and they all know who to call to get the keys to come stay here. So I think the more open we become about sharing idle capacity that we all possess, whether it's our clothes or our homes or the things that we have, if we can share more. And our younger generation is so much better at it. They are born into a shared economy. And so if we can do that, I mean, today we don't own a car. I mean, we live in a small rented apartment. We have very few clothes. We have like 2 pairs of shoes for walking and 2 pairs for, other things. And I just feel this is enough, So what keeps me up, what gives me excited is that technologically we are living in an amazing world. And humanitarianly or whatever, we have the opportunity to live in an amazing world. I think we will free ourselves of jobs to be able to spend more time with the loved ones. So I hope we do that.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if it's an egalitarian, sharing community that we all can strive towards, nothing like it. But it is scary.
I mean, I'm a diehard romantic. I'm an idealist, optimist. My father would always say that he's a hopeless optimist. And I think that's what I inherited, is that while everybody talks about the doomsday, I am always excited about the other possibility of what we can do. And I'm surrounded by people like that. When I'm in the Bay Area, Sukhi Singh, who lives there, shares her home with me. So I don't have my own place there. I stay at her house. She says, I have this big house. Just take one room and all my stuff is there. So I can go live in this 2-bedroom apartment here, there, I can do whatever and come back. And so when you have people like that, I mean, Sukhi is an amazing woman. I mean, I've not met too many people like that. And my business partner, Anu, whose house I have like all the codes to get in and out of her house, So when people share their homes, share themselves like that, and you're surrounded by that, what else do you need? You don't need to own anything, actually.
True.
If we can all share what we have, it's okay.
Yeah. Beautifully said. Thank you. And that's a very beautiful insight for all our listeners out there.
Yeah.
And Lakshmi, if you could finish this sentence for me, please. A life well lived is what?
I don't know. A life well lived is a life that serves at least one person whose life becomes well lived because of you. So it's sort of, I mean, I feel that I'm a very egoistic person, that I would love for a lot of people to say that, oh, she made a difference in my life. That's what makes me feel like, if they feel that, oh, this friendship I have with this person happened because of her. So I feel,
so you want that connector, you want to be the connector between souls.
It's like people remember, it's like, if you want a legacy, if you want to be remembered, you're never remembered for your name or fame or anything, but you're remembered for what you left with them. That they'll never forget. True. So, that friendship that they have, or that relationship that they have, or whatever, they'll always remember you. But I don't care to be remembered. That's a whole different conversation. I feel we should all learn to let go, die quick, and just make the world less heavy with all our weight on it. So that's a different conversation. I have no qualms of legacy. I don't want anybody to remember me after I'm gone. And it's just, I'm very practical about death, about everything. It's beautiful. Death is beautiful. I think it's wonderful that we just go one day. And
do you contemplate on it?
I do think a lot about it. I mean, in the sense that I feel, I feel that we should embrace it a lot more than we do. I think we are scared of it. But somebody, I always feel, and I read about this somewhere, I can't remember where, is that when a child is in the womb, coming out is scary for the child. They don't know what awaits out there. That's why they cry when they come out, because it's shocking. And you don't want to leave the comfort of the womb to come out, but till you come out, you don't know what's there. Similarly, we don't want to leave this body, this existence, because we don't know what's out there. But who knows? That may be a totally different adventure, or maybe it's just capiche, it's over. That's also good, that's also a great thing. Why should you go on forever, So I don't believe in living 200 years, but I believe in however long you live healthy. I always say I want to be like Abdul Kalam. Stand somewhere on a stage giving a talk, and you fall and you die. That's like a beautiful death is, and where everybody is happy you were there, and they don't remember you a year from there. That's beautiful, because you don't want them to be remembering you, missing you, feeling miserable, that somehow that void you left couldn't be filled. You don't want it like that. You want that void to be filled. So they're happy. Once in a while they think of you, miss you. It's great, but they don't have to.
Sure. Beautiful. Very beautiful thoughts out there.
I mean, I actually would love to do, you said what I'd love to, I would love to do like actually a whole ceremonies, a whole conversations around death and how we should embrace it and what it means and how we should be very natural about it.
It's physiological at the end of the day. It's physiological and it's bound to happen. And I think we should celebrate that as well in a way, in
Yeah.
its own way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. I I was wondering if I could delve a little more into your relationship with your husband, and what
Uh-huh.
kind of advice would you
Yes.
have for
Yeah.
youngsters who are looking out for partners?
Yeah.
What is it that makes things click?
Yeah.
How does a marriage, nurture
Yeah.
itself? How do you nurture your relationship? A few
Yeah.
thoughts, insights into that, please.
So whenever I talk to young people, I always say the one decision that will make or break your life is who you choose to marry. You know, whether you stay with them or you separate from them, it doesn't matter. A marriage's success is not about how long you've been married or whatever. In that time, were you true to each other? Were you kind to each other? Were you nice to each other? You come together and separate for many reasons, but were you glad you were together? So I don't like bitterness afterwards. But let me tell you, I have no fairy tale marriage. I fight with my husband all the time, and every year on our anniversary I congratulate him because he survived one more year. I'm a very difficult person to live with. My life has been my way or highway. People had to compromise around me a lot, and I'm very short tempered. I just fly off the handle in no time and run around and hug 5 minutes later. There's a lot of things about me that um, it's not that I'm dissing myself or anything. I'm very practical about it, and I look at myself and said, would I have married me? I'm like, probably not. And I feel a marriage is really about friendship. Right? It's truly about uh, um, it's a business. It's a business deal, actually. Beautiful business deal. I love business. I think the idea of business, of being financially wealthy as well as emotionally engaged, having a purposeful business, is beautiful. And I feel that's how a marriage is. We confuse it with chemistry. I mean, most of the movies that start with their eyes met and they got married end with their marriage. Nobody tells us what happens afterwards.
Yeah.
In so many, now I think of so many movies I saw when I was a kid, and I'm like, oh my God, they would have been so miserable after marriage because there's no compatibility, all the economic disparity, all kinds of things. So I feel a marriage should be truly about being honest with each other on what your priorities are, what's important for you, and be able to talk about it and be able to be unpleasant to each other. Initially when we got married, we'll be going out somewhere and I wear something and I come down and my husband looks at me and says, that looks terrible on you. And I would be so upset. Here I put in all this work and got ready. Couldn't you say it a little nicely or, whatever. Yeah. But he's like, I want you to look great. So why should I not say this to you? And while I would fight, I would still go change and come because I knew he was right. And he had my best interest at heart. And that would irritate me, to no end that he's right. I didn't want him to be right. And I'm like one of those people, I want to be right all the time. So I fight everything. So my husband says sometimes I came out of the womb fighting, it's like first I'm like, when somebody says, where are you going? I'm like, why? And so initially, again, when we were married, he would say, whenever you're going out of town, please tell me where you're going. I'm like, why do you need to know something? And one day he said, it's because if you're on some flight and that flight comes down, I need to know which flight you're on. It's not because I'm trying to be intrusive. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. So I think, my father said when he met my husband, Rajat, he said, this is the right guy for you because he will love you, but he won't let you walk all over him. You'll always be a little scared of him, and you need that in a person. Otherwise, you'll walk all over the guy. Right. You are like a storm. So he said, you need somebody who will put you in your place a little bit. So I think that's what I have, is someone who's always looking out for my best. And I still fight. I'm like a pain in the butt most of the time in our marriage. but he has the patience of a saint. I mean, he has his family says they can't imagine him living with anybody but me. I think we both are two difficult people who found each other, and we know that we stay together because we know nobody else will put up with us. So, but jokes apart, I really feel a marriage is about being open to each other. It doesn't mean you'll never be attracted to anybody else. It doesn't mean you do everything together. I think I suffered initially. My relationships initially did not work because I suffered from this delusion that romance or marriage means you have to agree on everything. You do everything together. So it's like, oh, I like you, but you don't like hiking, and I like hiking, so we are not compatible. Oh, I like you, we hike, we talk, but you're a whatever meat eater, and I'm not. And so we just think of compatibility in transactional things, but none of them matter. My husband and I have hardly anything in common. I love hiking. He doesn't like anything uncomfortable. He's a very structured man who do things, and I'm just decide things impulsively. And so many things. He's a meat eater and I'm a vegetarian. So if people look at us, from those things, they would say, how does their marriage last even a year? Even I didn't think anybody could be married to me for more than a year. But it lasts because we are comfortable in our differences. I don't force him to be a vegetarian. He doesn't force me to eat meat. I have my hiking friends. I don't pull him there. I love going to movies by myself. I don't drag him there. So I think if you respect your differences, and what we have in common is we love each other's families, we are respectful of each other, we help each other grow in our careers and individually. And that's the best you can expect out of a partner, is somebody who's got your back. And you may not have anything else in common with him. I mean, 90% of my friends still think I'm single. They do not think I have a husband, because he doesn't come to 90% of the things. He'll say, you go, I'll take care of the kid, I'll stay home, you go, So, but I'm okay with that, and so it's sort of, I think marriage is much, much more than just the initial romance. The initial romance has to be there. The initial interest in each other has to be there. But even if it is George Clooney, who I think someday I will meet, it's just a human being, they'll make the same mistakes as everybody else. So you have to be open to a very, very defective life, very, imperfect human being, and be okay to be imperfect. I'm not perfect, so why should I expect someone else? My dad had a great insight into this, because when I was dating, I had like all these guys' names, like an Excel spreadsheet, here are all the things I want. This guy has this, but he doesn't have this, like this whole spreadsheet I had. So I showed it to my dad one day and said, oh, this guy is really good, but then he smokes. This guy is this, but he doesn't have a stable job. Like, I went through my whole spreadsheet. So my dad said, look, if you want the guy to be a billionaire and look like a model and read poetry to you, don't you think the guy wants the same? And I was like, I guess, I'm no Cindy Crawford. I mean, I want Richard Gere, but I'm no Cindy Crawford. And I want George Clooney, but I'm definitely no Amal Clooney, So it's not about, again, putting yourself down, but it's about be real. I think sometimes our lists are so huge. My list was so huge, it was almost even I was, if your list is everything you are, at least it's reasonable. My list is only 2 out of the 10 I have, but I want everything else from the other person. So it was so impractical. And secondly, my dad said, I have an analysis paralysis, because I am going out with somebody. I'm like, but what if I find someone else who will be more attractive if I meet them? Then what will happen to this relationship? What if a year down the line he gets... I mean, there's just so many scenarios you play. He said, you have analysis paralysis. Okay, you cross the bridge when you get there. Yes, you find somebody more attractive. You have a talk and say, I want to be with him. I leave you. Or I leave him and be whatever. Have that conversation at that time. Why are you thinking about it? Do you have somebody else you're worried about? No. So then why are you worried about it now? So I think my advice to people to have a marriage that lasts. Again, everything is in time. The amount of time you spend together teaches you about each other, etc. Is that number one, don't expect that person to like everything you like. If you have one or two things in common, that's fantastic. But if they got your back, they're not trying to change you. They're not trying to box you. They're not trying to, in a very subtle way, control you. That's the person you want to be with. And two, be very realistic. Your list cannot be 20 items. Your list can be two. And if you get one of them, you should be happy, And the third thing is just accept marriages are imperfect.
Yeah.
You will disagree on things. You will fight and you will, be unreasonable. So,
and an occasional fight is probably something nourishing rather than, destroying.
Yeah, my son or my husband might say, like, you have too much nourishment around here. But I think it's, and also it's how you raise your children and whether you want to have children or not. And when before I was married, I used to tell him, I will not have children. You have to be okay with it.
Yeah.
And so having those practical conversations and then suddenly I changed my mind and said, I want to have a child. Again, have a conversation. So you should be able to have tough conversations with this person and be stupid in front of them. Somebody says something, I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. I go home and I'm like, what was he talking about? Can you explain this to me real quick? Because by the time I go next time, I have to sound really authentic. So explain this financial transaction to me or whatever. You should be able to say those kinds of things to the person and they still think you're great. So I think so that's about him. My husband Rajat is an amazing person with a lot of faults, just like me, but we are happy in our faults. We know each other's faults. We have an amazing son and he teaches us every day. And I've learned so much about parenting from him. And he's our best friend. And it's not been easy. His hopes and dreams were different than we knew how to help him.
How old is he and what does he do now?
I have a son who's 20, he will be 22 soon. And so he wanted to pursue sports as a career. And I really didn't know what it meant. While I talk about all this, pursue your passion and all that stuff, when it's your child, your conservative self comes back and I'm like, how will you make money with sports? And what kind of careers are possible? And only 1 in a billion can be messy. You gotta do all these things. But he stood his ground and said, I want to pursue football. And he went to a certain limit and then said, well, now it's not practical for me to pursue, so I'll pursue economics. And he's working hard at it. But children are not your legacy. They are their own people. Your body is just an instrument that put them out there, but you can't expect them to do what you want them to do. It's easier said than done. My son knows exactly what I expect out of him. There's a lot of expectations, but I think you have to learn to parent very differently today than ever before. I think the children are so well informed and they're so much wiser than we were at their age. They deal with so many more variables than we had to deal with. So I feel it's a different world today. So we need to be very different parents than the way our parents were. So there's a lot to learn. Actually, that's the thing I'm spending a lot of time right now on. I'm creating a group of parents. Like, what does it mean to be a parent? And why is something we need to learn? It's something we have to learn. It's not just, there's no books, there is no guides, but that's the singular responsibility, if we do well, we can actually leave a great generation. So to
True.
me, that's the thing.
Yeah.
In the age of technology,
Yes.
that's the thing occupying my mind, is how do we evolve as parents?
Yes. So, what are your insights so far in terms of parenting a 21st century child? You give
Yeah.
us some pointers towards parenting some 21st
Yeah.
century generation, to be honest.
I think the first thing is you have to accept your child as your equal. In fact, your teacher. I mean, mentoring is two ways. You have to know when you have to be the parent, but you also have to know when you have to let them be the parent, because they know a lot more things than you do. So, like when the pandemic happened and we suddenly decided we have to, on the day of the pandemic, that evening, we said we have to start an Insta live show, because we just didn't know how to connect with people. I've never been on Instagram. I don't know anything about it at that time. And my son, of course, knew everything. He was my producer. So he taught me, like every evening for 2 hours, I would be interviewing people, like 1 hour general interview, the other one on pandemic, like every aspect of it, etc. So I would have my phone, my things, and people would be coming, asking questions. So he would show me how to switch, answer a question, and all those things. So he would sit for those 2 hours, and he was teaching me. So it's like I had to surrender to him, and he would get very irritated if I made some mistakes or things like that. Not that button, this button, whatever. So you have to surrender yourself to that. And I think you have to know when to put your foot down, but you have to also know when what they're saying is right. So you have to have that ability. It's very tough. It's very tough to know when to do what. So we have to learn how to do that. So I think we have to deal with our children as our equals in some areas and not in the others. And it's constantly about learning how to navigate that. Like when a football coach is there, or a tennis coach, doesn't matter, any coach, they do great work with the team. But once the kids they go on the field, it's their game.
Yeah.
You cannot go and kick the ball, So it is such a big difference from moving on from a player to a coach. I think every parent has to learn how to be a coach and not a player. We want to do their homework. We want to do their thing. We want to do everything for them. But how to step back and let them do it. So my biggest lesson has been how to toggle this. And it's not easy. We had our hard fights and emotional outbursts and all that stuff. We continue to. But the ability to have open conversations always is very, very important. So I think parenting is a skill you have to work at. It's not something just do because
Very
I say
dynamic,
so,
isn't it?
or anything. And you have to evolve as a parent always, and learn from your children and figure out common language with your children. So one is treating them as equals. Second thing is developing some common language, because the music they listen to is not what I relate to. He's like he's in TikTok, there's that 20,000 things that I don't relate to. There's very few things we relate to. So you have to find some common things you do together, some rituals you develop. My husband and he have soccer in football in common. They're fanatic. They know every team name. This one traded. They have that in common. I don't have that. So I have with him. We watch movies together. We watch Netflix shows together, or we talk a lot of times about things. He has traveled with me all over the world. So we have a traveling as common. So you have to develop rituals with your children that you do together, because, otherwise we do very separate lives, and it's very easy to not even know what they're thinking. So how do we develop those rituals together? This is why I'm very excited about forming a parents group and learning, because I feel this is a lifelong learning. If we can be great parents, we will have great future generation. And 99% of the time in this world, the gatekeepers are the problem, not the people with great ideas.
Yes.
So we as parents, we are gatekeepers. We are constantly killing their enthusiasm. We're like, I know you want to do that, but that's not practical. Don't do it. Don't do this. Don't. The first word a child learns from us is no. And we say no to more things than we say yes to.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot we have to introspect and learn as parents.
In this digital world, how do you get them out of, get them to be more human rather than getting sucked into the digital life?
This is the one area I was so glad my son was really into sports, because it's amazing how that brings them out.
Yes.
Like he's out playing, he's bonding with his teammates, and you learn so much about teamwork, etc. So I think somehow encouraging your children to do sports, outdoors things, without becoming champions. Our problem a lot of parents is that the minute you start playing something, you should win all the tournaments. No, just go hit the tennis ball. Just learn. Just go play for 2 hours out there without putting a pressure of being now successful at that. So you got to have some hobby where you just do it, whether it's music or whether it is sports or dance, whatever it is. I think it's important to develop an extracurricular activity that you're really interested in, that's not competitive. I think that's very, very important. So you can't get them away from things by saying, get away from it. You have to, like when my kid was very young, somebody told me that he said, if he's upset, crying about something, don't try to pacify him doing that. Just show him a distraction. If he's saying, I want this toy, and he's crying about it, you suddenly say, hey, did you see that car? And suddenly you distract them. So instead of saying, why are you on the phone so long, this, that, etc., create something. Say, let's go on a family vacation. For 10 days, we are going to be whatever, we are going to do this together. We are going to do that together. Let's travel together. Create something so they're interested in it. So you can't fight the digital age. You can only, create areas of isolation so you can be together, or create rituals saying, hey, when we have dinner for 2 hours, can we all put our phones away and be with each other? One thing I must say I found, which has really been amazing to our family, is playing board games.
Okay.
And so we were hanging out at Sukhi's house. We all came, and she started playing this board game. I'm forgetting the name of it now. Oh my God, we are so hooked to it now. We bought it, and every day after dinner, we just play a board game. And it's been really fun for all three of us. And or we play cards or Ludo. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be anything intellectual, but board games are a great way to bond with each other. So family vacations, board games, developing rituals to do something together. We have to create these things. And that's why when we did the conference, we used to say, bring your kids and come. We do not have too many things where we have shared experiences with our children now.
That's true.
When you go to a movie together.
I like the fact that you took your son to your to all the conferences, and he's been a part of it, and he knows what your world is all about.
Yeah, and just come along. It's sort of, my friend Asha would bring her daughter Anya. I would bring, and we all, like a bunch of us, would bring our kids and go. And we just figured it out, So, and our kids hung out together. That's why at our conference, it was my dream. Like at a conference, people should bring their kids and come. So people would bring their 12, 14, 15-year-old kids every year. So you need to develop some rituals so you have a common thing to discuss at the end of it. When you see a movie together, you come out and you discuss about it. When you go to a conference together, you come out and say, which speaker did you like? Whatever, there is something to discuss about it. So if you do physical things where you have something to discuss, that's great. Or even digitally, if you both develop interest in the same game and you play together or something. But I always prefer get away from the screen, do something outside. Or if they're into sports, encourage them, just let them go.
True.
So these are the things. As parents, we have to keep learning. It's never the child that's a problem. If there's a problem in the world, just look at yourself first before you look at anybody else. If there's a problem, the parent-child conflict, look at yourself first. What are you doing to promote that? There are times children are unreasonable and you have to put your foot down, for sure. But you have to know when.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
What does spirituality mean to you?
Spirituality to me is like a journey into yourself. I feel if the last 200 years of industrial revolution was about traveling the world, trades and unions and all these kinds of stuff, I really believe the next 200 years is a journey within ourselves. Because we have all the things now. We don't need anything else. So the ability to have a honest journey within yourself to see where are my strengths, where are my weaknesses, where are my contributions, and am I being a good person here? Am I in the way? Is very, very important. So I feel actually our conference theme before the pandemic was within and beyond. It means that, how much do I need to travel within me to create a world beyond imagination? So I think that captures for me within and beyond. That's spirituality for me, is the ability to travel within on your own. It's not following someone. It's not what somebody says. It's not following a ritual. It's the ability to go within yourself and travel within yourself. That's spirituality to me.
That's lovely. And what do you do? Do you meditate a lot? Do you write?
A lot is
journals
I do meditate early in the morning when I get up, about 15-20 minutes. I meditate. While I've not attained that meditative state yet. It's still, I do it. I walk. To me, my walking is my meditation. I write a lot. My writing is also my meditation. And of late, I'm developing, a show, and I feel like putting my thoughts into words is actually quite meditative. To say, why am I doing this? Can I put it in a thought that I can put out there? It's been very interesting.
We all have fleeting thoughts, but only people who put those thoughts into action are the ones who kind of really achieve something, right? We all have fleeting thoughts. So does that help you sort of act on it as well, right?
Yeah. So it's like, first your thoughts have to articulate into something meaningful. And then what do you do with it? And everything doesn't have to, one of the biggest things that's changed within me is that I used to always feel whatever I do should impact others out there, impact millions of people out there, etc. Now I'm happy with, if it can just impact me, makes me a happier person, it's good enough.
Right.
And just my little circle, I mean, all of us have a circle of 5 and a circle of 15 and a circle of 100, and if whatever I do can impact my little circle of 5, it's good enough for me. And I think if each of us do that, that'll be great. Yeah. And it's sort of, instead of I need to be out there and everybody should, keep collecting new people. Now I'm like, I just want to spend time with people I already know. I want to do things with people I know. I want my projects to be with people I know. And so it's just getting more inward. And just makes me happy. And it doesn't mean I don't like going out and meeting new people, but it's sort of, I like my quiet and my solitude just as much. And I need that. I can't be out too much. Like if I do a big event, literally for 2 days, I don't see anybody. I really need my solitude. So I've I value it a lot. My ability to write, my ability to think or just walk. Um, that solitude is very
That's
important for me.
beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's almost like replenishing yourself.
Yeah, yeah. It
Yeah.
is. It is a recharge.
Yes. Yes. Actually, what an extraordinary conversation, I must say. I mean, you have weaved stories from your venture capital times to Intel times to the how you started Inc. and how the American Indian Foundation came about, how you're trying to achieve global parity in various ways,
Yeah.
how community building and storytelling have been such an integral part of your life,
Mhm.
how your father has been a beautiful influence and a power behind your strengths today,
Yeah.
and how your family and your husband and how marital life, what it means to you, parenting, thoughts around parenting.
Yeah.
It's been an amazing conversation, and it's been an incredible journey for me. And I've
Thank
had
you.
so many goosebump moments along the way. It's
Yeah.
clear that your life is a testament to the power of story and the impact of, intentional connection, I
Yeah.
must say.
I do want to say that I think we can learn a lot by observing, by being behind the scenes. I think we always try hard to be in the front,
Yeah.
but there's a lot you can learn by watching people. I mean,
Mm.
I've had the incredible privilege of watching people like Gordon Moore or Andy Grove or even James Cameron or Matt Groening, who created Simpsons, or like so many people have influenced me, or like reading about Marie Curie or someone like Usha Uthup. I mean, they just like, I kind of say, wow, I mean, look at this. Or somebody as young as Aisha Chaudhary, who passed away. I mean, so many people. But I think if we can all learn to be observers,
Mm.
and be behind the scenes, magic happens there.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
in our hurry to be in the limelight, we forget how much there is to learn from
Yes.
just watching others. And don't get me wrong, I'm not like an evolved human being. I love my limelight also. I like to be in the limelight. But the ability to observe from others has
Yeah.
been the biggest gift
Yes.
in my life, the biggest gift. And I would like everyone to think of that, is to, like, I love going and watching movie shootings,
Yeah.
like it's like they shoot for a whole day and that makes like 1 minute in the film, but I love like all the non-glamorous work that happens behind the scenes.
Right.
And when we do the conference, my most favorite time is when they're taking down the set. Like, I always go sit there and I feel we worked 3 days to put up this set. In 3 hours, the whole
It's
thing
all
is
gone.
come back and the hall looks like nothing has happened there. That's reality. So I love like behind the scenes, and I think we should really
Yeah.
make it a point of our lives to observe what
Mhm.
happens behind the scenes.
Yeah, yeah. I think that brings in the concept of listening as well, right?
Yes.
Active listening and
I have a
understanding
lot to
others'
learn
life.
in that. I talk too
Yeah.
much.
Thank you ever
Thanks.
so much for this conversation. And to our listeners, if Lakshmi's words resonated with you, and if they sparked a new idea or inspired you to find your own click, then make sure you follow Luminary Lounge on YouTube as well as Spotify. Please do leave your comments, leave us a review, and also share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. You can find the links of Ink and all of Lakshmi's work in the show notes, which we'll share with you. And until next time, keep seeking those moments that make your life truly well lived. I'm Aruna signing off, and this is Luminary Lounge for you. Thank you.